For years I carried the truth like a shadow, silent, heavy, and always close. I believed that speaking it would set me free. I believed that my family's love would hold me once I broke the silence. I was wrong. This is what happens when truth meets denial and courage meets rejection. Years passed. One brother, Omar, was diagnosed with late-stage colon cancer. My mother's memory began to fade until she no longer recognized anyone. Their struggles were visible and received love, empathy, and support from everyone around them. I watched, quietly aware of my own invisible struggle. I wondered if sharing my secret would bring the same care. If I could be strong enough to confront the past and tell the truth, maybe I could finally forgive, learn to love myself, and find joy. Despite everything, I kept going. I managed the house, helped with school projects, cooked holiday meals, and celebrated birthdays. Outside, life looked steady. Inside, the storm kept rising, waiting for the day it would finally break through the silence. The day had finally come. I gathered every ounce of courage and strength I had and confronted Hakim, just the two of us. He denied everything. I shared details only the two of us could possibly know, but he denied it again. He said it must have been a dream. I told him how hard and painful it had been to live with the trauma, the memories and the secrets I had repressed for so many years. I begged him to admit the truth so I could begin to heal. Instead, he called me a liar and walked away. In that moment, I broke all over again. I went home and cried in silence, regretting that I had ever confronted him. I was hoping for closure, for resolution, a chance to finally be free. But instead, I was victimized again by the same person. I wanted to be set free, but I found myself trapped all over again. I finally decided it was time to let the rest of the family know the secret I have been living with for a very long time. I was ready to tell the truth, to reveal the trauma I had carried alone for so many years. I asked my family for a gathering, hoping they would listen. My mother's health had worsened, her memory was fading. She didn't even recognize who I was. Muna didn't respond to my request. Still, I went ahead. My voice trembled as I told them what Hakim had done to me for 2 years. How he used me, how he abused me, and how I had lived in fear and silence ever since. Tears filled my eyes as I spoke, holding on to a small, desperate hope that they might finally understand, that they might believe me, comfort me, or simply say, "We're sorry." When I finished speaking, my father and the others stood there in silence. Then, one by one, they turned and walked away, leaving me behind, confused, heartbroken, and destroyed all over again. It was a familiar feeling. In my mind, I explored every possibility, giving them the benefit of the doubt. Maybe they just needed time to digest the dark truth that had finally been brought into the light. I held on to hope that they would come around, stand by me, and help me begin to heal. A few days later, the phone rang. The caller ID showed one of my siblings. My heart lifted. I answered with a smile in my voice and a cheerful greeting. For a moment, there was only silence. My heart pounded. Then came the words that cut deeper than I could have imagined. "How can you be so ungrateful? How could you make up such a hurtful, unbelievable lie? Why are you accusing him?" He went on and on. The smile vanished from my face. My eyes filled with tears. I stood there listening. hearing but not understanding. Suddenly I was no longer an adult. I was that 6-year-old girl again, frightened, helpless, whispering, "It hurts. Please stop. It really hurts." The words slipped from my lips without thought, a faint echo from decades ago. I hung up the phone and walked away in silence. I was hoping they would support me, comfort me, set me free. Tell me the words I longed to hear. You didn't do anything wrong. It wasn't your fault. I believe you. You have nothing to be ashamed of. Unfortunately, those words never came. Only silence. Heavy, cold and final. And in that silence, something inside me broke all over again. That night I sat in the dark, numb. The house was silent, but inside me everything was loud. The echoes of his voice, the memories I couldn't escape, the pain that refused to fade. I was weak, fragile, and lost, still giving them all the power to define my truth. I just stared into the darkness, feeling myself drift further away from reality. My world was collapsing under the weight of silence and disbelief. I was called a liar, told I was imagining things, accused of exaggerating. Each word was a knife twisting deeper into the wounds I had fought so hard to heal. I had hoped for support, for compassion, for someone to say, "I believe you." But instead I was met with rejection. My family closed ranks around the very person who had broken me. It felt like being abused all over again, only this time by all of them. To escape the pain, I began disappearing for entire weekends, drawn to casinos where the flashing lights and endless noise dulled my thoughts. The card games my father once taught me brought a strange kind of comfort. They reminded me of the hours he and I used to sit and play together. That was my father's way of giving me attention and some of his time, the only time I felt seen and heard. Gambling became my refuge, my drug of choice. I left my husband and children at home while I tried to outrun the memories. I did everything I could to push him away, secretly hoping he would give up and leave me, but he wouldn't. He hung in there hoping that I would come back to my senses, but I didn't. What I couldn't see then was that the love and healing I needed were right there, in the home we had built together. But trauma had blinded me. I couldn't recognize the people who truly mattered. Inside I felt nothing. Numb, hollow, a walking shadow, surrounded by love, yet unable to feel it. I believed I had destroyed the very thing that could have saved me. I spiraled into a place where I felt lifeless inside. Numb and detached, I was surrounded by love my heart couldn't feel and my mind couldn't understand. Growing up, women did not marry out of love. Women did not have loving feelings toward a man. That was why marriages were arranged. And never out of love. Fell in love for a man, believed to be a dirty and shameful act, and those women would get punished by the men in the family for staining the family name. Those lessons at such a young age dug deep. They shadowed every tender feeling I ever had. Those years were a collision of courage and collapse. Speaking the truth was the bravest step I had ever taken. But the rejection that followed sent me deeper into darkness before I could begin to heal. On the inside, I was dead. I felt no empathy, no remorse, no emotion. Because dead people don't feel. I had destroyed the life we built, and I didn't even understand why. Trauma had become my compass, and I followed it straight into darkness. The pain I caused my husband and children would one day haunt me even more than what was done to me. But back then I couldn't see that yet. I was still lost, still trying to outrun a past that lived in every breath I took. These were the years of trying to escape myself. On the outside, I moved through life. Mother, wife, friend. On the inside, I was running, always running, from the memories that never loosened their grip. We sold the house, and I filed for divorce. He never understood what he could have done that was so terrible to make me leave. Inside, I felt nothing. No remorse, no empathy, because it was as if the part of me that could feel had died at 6 years old.